Hey, welcome. There's nothing like the feel of pure gold, and that's what we do today. I've recovered these gold buttons from e-waste gold jewelry over the last few months. They all have various amounts of impurities in them. Watch as I refine these into a high purity gold bar. There's almost 32 grams of impure buttons. How much gold is actually in them? Well, we're going to find that out. I'm confident these are all 95% plus pure gold. So nitric baths are going to be skipped. They can go straight into Aqua Regia. Before I do that though, I'm going to melt them up, and then I'm going to corn-flake them. This will make that processing much easier. By pouring the molten metal into ice water, you get small bits of gold with lots of surface area. This is going to allow the Aqua Regia to work on the gold fast and efficiently. Just going to work on that last little bit of gold that is stuck in the milk dish. These flakes are looking great. Get them into a beaker and off to the Aqua Regia process. Going to start with our beaker of flakes. Put this up on the heat. Then going to add about 200 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. And then I'm going to add about 25 milliliters of nitric acid to form our Aqua Regia. And then finally, I'll add a few milliliters of sulfuric acid to drop out any lead that may have come over in those buttons. All of our gold has gone into solution. I don't know if it shows up in the camera, but I can see some junk on the bottom of the beaker, lead sulfite or silver chloride. Either way, we're going to be able to filter that out. Probably going to get more silver chloride as this solution gets diluted. But filtering is critical. We want to filter through as many times as it takes to get a crystal clear solution. So our first filter is done. The solution is pretty cloudy. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this back into a beaker and filter it again. Not surprisingly, I'm pretty sure more silver chloride is dropped out of solution as it gets diluted with rinse water. So after that first filter, in fact, this solution is cloudier than when we started. We're just going to keep on filtering it until we get to a nice crystal clear gold-bearing solution. Finally, I think we're there. Pretty clear solution. You can see the junk in the filter here that came out of the solution that we don't want in our gold. Going to go ahead and transfer this into a beaker and set it up out of the way for now. I really want to be sure I get a full 1 ounce bar. So I'll get this out of the way, and we go ahead and process the gold that is settled in the bottom of my temporary stock pot. This is very impure gold that comes from the washes of all these buttons. And there's probably not very much here, maybe 1 or 2 grams, but should be enough to ensure that even after the impurities in the buttons are gone, we end up with at least 1 ounce of gold in our bar. I'll start by getting rid of most of the solution. Keep most of the powder here. Put that into a beaker because after we're done, that's going to go right back into that temporary stock pot, so we don't lose any of that gold powder that came out with it. Going to add a bit of hydrochloric acid. Get it up on the heat. Add sulfuric acid. I'm certain there's stuff to drop out of solution in this mess. And then we're going to go ahead and add about 3 milliliters of nitric acid and go ahead and let the Aqua Regia form in the stock pot container itself. Alright, our stock pot. All the gold has gone in solution. See on the bottom there is a lot of junk in there. We're going to go ahead and filter this. We're going to use the same filter paper we used for the main solution, which should get us a clear solution pretty quickly since that paper is already fairly jammed up. Well, that's what I like to see. A lot of junk came out. Our solution is clear one time through. Perfect. Time to combine both of our solutions and proceed to getting the gold out. I'm going to use ferrous sulfate to drop our gold. It's very selective for gold only, which for the purity we want is what we want to do. So first I'm going to mix some ferrous sulfate with hot water. And once it's mostly dissolved, I'm going to start filtering this till it's clear. I'm making an excess amount for what I'm actually going to need, so I have some on hand for future refine, so I don't have to keep making this when I want it. While I was doing that, I've noticed that a small layer of some kind of sediment appeared on the bottom of this beaker. I'm going to filter it one more time. You really can't filter enough. It is the way to ensure that none of that gets into our gold when we do our final. Now our solution is looking fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and clear this out of here. You can see there is just a little bit in that filter paper there, but the solution is absolutely crystal clear. We are ready to do our gold drop. Our ferrous sulfate is filtered. You can see how clear that is too. I do have a video on that. If you want to check it out, I'll put a link in the comments below. I'm going to start with 500 milliliters of our ferrous sulfate solution. First, a quick test to prove what we know. There's a lot of gold in solution. So I'm going to get it stirred up a little bit so as we add the ferrous, it mixes in quickly and thoroughly. And so the first 500 milliliters goes in. That color change is gold coming out of solution. Quick test to see where we're at. Still a lot of gold in solution. I'm going to add another 500 milliliters. It generally takes a fair amount of volume of ferrous sulfate to do the drop versus other methods, but it is great for pure gold. Alright, so that is in. Give it a little bit of a stir to make sure it's good and mixed. And one more test. And this time our stannous test is negative. We have all of our gold out of solution. I'm going to set this up and let it settle. It's been a few hours and our gold is settled. Now we need to clean up the gold powder. I'm going to start by decanting the solution off the gold. And there's our powder at the bottom. Looks like a nice decent amount of it. Ferrous sulfate is great for pure gold, but it takes a lot of washing steps to get the iron out of the gold powder. First, after a quick rinse with distilled water, I'm going to do several washes with hydrochloric acid until the acid runs clear. That yellow color is the acid reacting with the iron that's still in there. I'm just going to keep pouring this off until we get rid of it. Right, the acid's finally running clear. I'm going to transfer this to a smaller beaker. You would think this gold is clean, but it's not. Once we have in this beaker, we're going to pour off the water, obviously, and then we're going to do another wash with boiling hydrochloric acid. So we're going to set it up on the heat and let it go for about 10 minutes. You'd be surprised what this pulls out. Alright, the hydrochloric acid boil is done. You'll notice a couple of things. That yellow that looks like golden solution isn't gold, that's iron. The other thing you notice is that powder is lightened up considerably. That's a really good sign for high purity. Now we're going to start a bunch of boiling water washes to get all that acid out of the powder. You just can't wash your gold powder too much. Alright, so that powder's looking really good, but that just means it's time for another hydrochloric acid boil. This time the residual acid is clear. That's good, and that powder is looking great. So now we're going to wash the acid out of the powder with boiling distilled water again. I'm going to give it several washes to be sure we get it as clean as possible. That's just good looking gold in there. It's time to get it dried up and over to the melt station. Our powder is dry and we're getting close to the payoff. Gonna get the powder into a nice clean melt dish, and then we'll get it melted up and pour ourselves a bar. That bar is looking really good in the bowl. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of there and quench it in water. As good as it looks, it feels even better. It's small, it's heavy, there's nothing like it. Good shine, good luster, yellow metal, feels great, high purity. So this bar is going to come in at 32.27 grams. That's just a little over, not that regular ounce, but 1 troy ounce of pure high purity gold. Okay, well that concludes this video. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more gold refining adventures. As always, feedback, your experiences, and questions are welcome in the comments below. Thank you.